What's up, Hammer supporters? Before diving into today's news, smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments what you think about West Ham's situation. You won't want to miss anything. West Ham fans, once again, we find ourselves facing a decisive moment in our history. Those who have followed the club for decades know that there is always a certain cloud of turbulence behind the scenes, and now the news emerging could deeply affect the future of the Hammers. In recent days, the name of Harry Redknapp, a very well-known former manager, has returned to the spotlight with a statement that left many people excited. He claimed that there is a real possibility of a takeover, a sale of West Ham to new owners, and that sparks the imagination of the supporters. Of course, the arrival of Nuno Espirito Santo brought a breath of hope on the pitch. The team seems to be breathing new air, and the fans have felt a bit more confident. But let's be honest, the real problem is not only in the results on the field. The real weight lies in the boardroom. The current majority owner David Sullivan, vice chair Karen Brady, and the entire board remain under enormous pressure. And this is not new. The Supporters Advisory Board even went as far as issuing a public vote of no confidence against the current leadership. It was a harsh message that shook the corridors of the London Stadium. After that, the protests gained strength. Supporters of all ages united with the goal of pushing Sullivan out of power, or at the very least forcing him to hand over the management of the club to specialized professionals capable of transforming West Ham from top to bottom. That is no small matter. Tension rose even further when Sullivan's fiancée got into a public argument with fans. This episode only increased the sense of detachment between the board and the supporters' passion, and the protests are not seen as something temporary. On the contrary, some speak of an activist movement lasting the entire season until the supporters' demands are met. In light of all this, many believe that the only viable way out of what some already call a civil war is a total sale of the club. Sullivan is already 76 years old, and since the move to the London Stadium in 2016, West Ham has received several approaches. The owner himself has confirmed that he turned down offers. Back in 2020, he rejected a $650 million bid from Red Bull. More recently, the owners of Paris Saint-Germain also saw their offer turned down in 2023. In addition, there were rumors of interest from American investors at the end of last season. And it doesn't stop there. The latest news is that a potential foreign investor is said to have visited West Ham's facilities, including the Rush Green Training Center. This visit, according to inside information, was conducted by none other than Karen Brady and also by Mark Noble, now the club's sporting director. The detail is that this investor is reportedly interested in buying the stake belonging to the Gold family. It is in this scenario that Harry Redknapp's words come into play, raising hopes even higher. For him, there is no doubt that Sullivan will end up selling the club, and more that the sale will be to a billionaire group, whether from Saudi Arabia or the United States. In Redknapp's words, this is exactly what West Ham needs right now to compete at the highest level. He reminded us of something we all know well. West Ham is a gigantic club. It fills a 60,000-seat stadium every match day. It has supporters, it has history, it has passion, but it still lacks the next step. It lacks management that sees the club's full potential and puts it in a position to fight for trophies. For many fans, this statement was music to their ears. A sale to a truly powerful group could not only ease the relationship with the current board, but also open the path to a much brighter future. It would be the chance to turn Sullivan's legacy into something positive, handing over the club to capable hands that can take it to a new level. Before we move on, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support keeps the Claret and Blue family united and helps make West Ham stronger every single day. What stands out in all this is that despite the arrival of Nuno Espirito Santo and the fresh energy he has brought, the supporters are not willing to abandon the fight against the board. It is as if two parallel scenarios exist on the pitch, a manager trying to put the house in order off it, thousands of voices demanding radical change in the club's leadership. And let's be honest, this clash is not new. Those who have followed West Ham since the days of Upton Park have already seen other waves of protests, have witnessed dissatisfaction against previous directors. But this time the atmosphere feels different. The fans are united, persistent, and promise to keep up the pressure throughout the season. The central question is simple: are Sullivan and Brady really willing to let go? For years we heard statements that there was no interest in selling. The club's market value was even inflated, with estimates reaching $800 million. This stance always pushed potential investors away, who saw West Ham as an attractive target, but stalled in the face of unrealistic demands. But time passes and pressure grows. Today, Sullivan no longer has the same vitality as before. At 76, he sees the fans calling clearly and publicly for his departure. And when a former manager like Harry Redknapp comes out and says he will sell that sooner or later the billionaires will take over, it fires up every supporter's imagination. Because it is inevitable to think about what could happen. Imagine West Ham in the hands of a group truly willing to invest heavily, who see the potential of filling 60,000 seats every match as the base for something greater. We are not only talking about surviving in the Premier League. We are talking about competing for trophies, about having the strength to face giants, about standing toe-to-toe with clubs that currently dominate the European stage. Of course, there are those who feel concern. Many ask, would an American or Saudi billionaire really respect the tradition of the club? Wouldn't we just become another piece on a global investment board? This concern is legitimate, especially for the older supporters who saw the club born from the sweat of the community and have always valued the roots of East London. But at the same time, there is the sense that things cannot continue as they are. West Ham lives in a kind of stalemate too big to be ignored, but too limited to make the leap without new resources. That is why Redknapp's words echoed so strongly. It was not just a prediction. It was almost a confirmation that change is on the horizon. And deep down, the supporters know that West Ham has always lived between highs and lows, between crises and moments of glory. As Redknapp himself said, the club always seems to be in crisis. But that does not diminish the greatness of the institution. On the contrary, it reinforces the passion of the fans who never abandon it, who fill every seat in the stadium, who make the claret and blue shirt a symbol of resistance. Now the question is, how long will it take until Sullivan finally gives in? Will we see this sale in the coming months, or will it be a drawn-out process full of back and forth? What we do know is that the supporters do not intend to back down. The movement is underway, the protests continue, and every new piece of news about potential investors serves as fuel to keep the flame alive. Before we move on, don't forget to like the video, leave your comment, and subscribe to the channel. Every bit of support helps keep the claret and blue family united, gives strength to our voice as fans, and pushes West Ham forward every single day. When we look at all this, it is clear that West Ham is at a crossroads. On one side, the passion of supporters who never tire of fighting. On the other, a board that resists even amid growing pressure. And in the middle of this struggle arises the hope of a change that could redefine the club's future. Harry Redknapp is no ordinary figure. He knows Sullivan personally, they have a relationship outside football, and even share a passion for horse racing. That is why when he says the sale will happen, that the West Ham owner will hand over his shares to billionaires capable of transforming the club, his word carries weight. It is not just speculation. It is a prediction from someone who knows what he is talking about. And then comes the big question, what could this change mean for the supporters? For many, it is the chance to see West Ham finally occupy the space it deserves. A club that has already proven its strength, that attracts 60,000 people to every match, that has tradition, and could indeed compete for major trophies if it had the proper financial backing. For others, the fear is of losing some of its essence, of becoming just another piece in a global investment game. But perhaps the answer lies in balance. Because tradition and modernity do not have to be enemies. West Ham can preserve its roots, its community spirit, its East London identity, and at the same time take a leap in quality with resources that open up new horizons. It is not betraying the past. It is honoring it by taking the club to where it always deserved to be. And at this moment, the role of the supporters is fundamental. Popular pressure has already shown its strength, a public vote of no confidence, firm protests, voices that will not be silenced. This unity is what ensures that any future change will respect the fans and the club's history. Because owners may change, managers may change, but the supporters are eternal. In the end, as Redknapp said, West Ham always seems to live in crisis, but it is also true that, even in the greatest storms, this club has never stopped being gigantic. And perhaps now, the crisis is only the prelude to a new era. The future is still uncertain, but one thing is clear. West Ham has everything it needs to write a new chapter. A chapter of growth, of achievements, and, perhaps, of titles the supporters have long dreamed of. What remains is to follow every step, to maintain the pressure, and to believe that, when this change comes, it will be to elevate the club to a level worthy of its greatness. Because in the end, being West Ham means this: to believe, to fight, and to never give up. From Upton Park to the London Stadium, from difficult times to unforgettable victories, the story continues. And we go on together, waiting for the day when we will see West Ham shine like never before. And that's all for today's West Ham news. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with fellow fans, and of course subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Come on, you Irons.